Welcome to the Breathing Edge podcast. This is part of our Energized Leader series. And today I want to introduce somebody who's really big in the space of influence or influencers. And we've been working with Adam for a while on, both on personal energy, but also in engaging with him in what he does and what he specializes in influence. Now, Adam, he's a best-selling author on Amazon. He's got the LinkedIn Playbook and Social Media Secret Sauce. And recently it released the Influencer, so the 9-step guide to becoming highly influential in any industry. So we'll just have a look at the book here. Yes,
I'm actually in this book too.
And the LinkedIn
I'm
Playbook.
I'm proud to say I am in the book.
Yes. And what I love about Adam's work is, he's on 6 businesses and he's a CEO of his own business. And I'm working with him one-on-one. What I absolutely love about what Adam does is he's got a unique way of distilling things down to simple steps. And putting it in such a way where it's plain language that even, somebody just starting out in business would be able to understand. So, Adam, I just want a quick synopsis from you, because you've done some really powerful things in the space of business, and now you're doing powerful things in the space of social media. And I want to just kind of expand on that, because one of the things that you said that makes so much sense is people go, what's the return on investment with social media? And I've heard this one right next to me say this many times. And it wasn't until we started getting leads and making some money off of LinkedIn that he goes, oh, I got it.
Can't make the fruit grow any faster on the tree, Adam. That's my problem.
Yeah, so what's kind of led you to where you are today? Just like a quick synopsis of your journey.
Sure. Thanks, guys. Great to be here with you. Just to answer off on that one, it's because it's an important question, is it? Like, what's that ROI on being active on social media? And I've got a really simple saying about that. You get to stay in business.
Yeah.
That's the reality, is that if you're not utilizing social media these days, you're way behind the 8 ball. And that actually leads into what you just asked, like, what my journey was of how it came to be where we are today. And it actually started literally 10 years ago, and I got called into a company that you guys know very well called My Essence, or One Group is the actual name of the company, to help them fix up their retail program, which was my background at that time. And doing the research is to see why some other companies around the world, and My Essence is a big brand, they would like to operate in 65 countries around the world, but their retail program wasn't as strong as a lot of others. And the research we did, just in a nutshell, it was just that all these other companies were just better adopters of social media than what My Essence were at the time. That really just piqued my interest on it. At the time, I didn't know anything about social media whatsoever. I think I had a Facebook account like everyone. That was about it. And I just really got stuck into it. It resonated with me that, social media was going to be a big part of business going forward. I reached out to a lot of influencers at the time, being sort of, running a company like My Essence, people tend to take your call and they say, look, I just want to pick your brains about social media, whatever. Some of them even paid them for their time to interact with them. And I just became more and more convinced that it was a big part of business. However, the more I went into it, the more I personally resonated with the value of LinkedIn as a platform. It was probably the most misunderstood social media platform, probably still is. And, but it just worked for me. I understood it and developed a program that was, like you said, it was not hard for us to lay that out to people in layman's terms, where if they just kind of followed the bouncing ball, they'd get results. And that's where we are today. We now do that with awesome entrepreneurs all around the world, and love doing it every day.
And Adam, I wanted to bring up our journey with you, because where I want to take this is to highlight how much energy it freed up for us once, for me, you and I have worked personally, so you know how I am. I had this fear about raising my my profile on LinkedIn, and especially on LinkedIn, but just in social media in general. And you know, you can probably talk to this because you see this a lot with people. But what I didn't realize was that the process of creating your avatar or the person you are on LinkedIn, which is not you, you know, it kind of is, but it isn't. I found that really, you know, one, it made me lift my game about who I was, what I was saying, you know, even to the point of just fact checking, making sure that you are an expert in your field. So that's one part of it, actually making you lift yourself. But the other part was that it really freed up a lot of energy once I had this persona on social media that's not only doing good, but it's also creating revenue. It's creating revenue for us. It's creating revenue for other people. You know, we're now part of B1G1. Some of the stuff that we do on social media is now going out. You know, providing schooling for girls so they stay away from trafficking and things like that. And I think that all of the really horrible things that people think about social media and think about these sorts of things, I think they've got to really consider this other side of it as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that the important part of what you just shared is to be, yeah, we're all, you know, playing a bit of a game when we're on social media, but the ones who come across the most authentic are the ones who are, you know, congruent and consistent. We've all seen the 18-year-old kids driving around in a rented Lamborghini, you know, shooting videos if they're, you know, sitting in the passenger seat, and you know, we all have an opinion on that. We don't need to go into it. But the reality is that the more consistent you are, and there's also going back to what you said at the start, like how you were really you know, scared's not the word, but just concerned about how you're going to come across on social media. That's normal. We all go through that. It's actually got a name. It's called imposter syndrome. So, you know, we're all our worst critics. I got a client, I was literally just having a chat with her 15 minutes ago, who's just started on her content journey and whatever, and she said, "Oh, I feel so unauthentic, inauthentic, whatever, however that word is." And I said, I showed her some of my first videos, and she laughed. She said, "Well, okay, I feel pretty good now because they're mine." Like,
good inoculation.
Yeah. But that's the reality. I mean, you know, it's a learning curve. But the underlying thing that people resonate with is that you just be authentic, you be real, you be you. Probably one of the best pieces of content I've ever seen. Again, somebody you guys know really well as well, Dane. He did a video. His very first video said, "This is my first video. I'm shitting myself. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm gonna make mistakes. But this is what I have to say." He got the most amazing engagement on it because he was just real. He's just honest, and that's what really resonates is you know, authenticity and honesty.
Yeah. Well, and that's so I would say that feels like it's so backwards, because even from me coming back from an entertainment in sort of background, I, you know, would feel like I've got to put on some sort of a persona so people, you know, see me as a leader and these sorts of things. But I was clunky when I was like that, because I was trying to organize my words and get it right. And it was so funny. We did a live video one day, and Shane said to me, he goes, "You do live videos so much better than you do like planned videos." And it makes sense, because I don't have to pretend to be anybody else, but just share from my experience.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know, the end, when it's all said and done, what matters is results. So and we're talking about, you know, the energy of how that feels to, you know, get through that imposter syndrome and start to get some results and actually see tangible returns on that. It's time. It's the biggest cost of this is time, more so than money. And there's nothing that gives you more energy than cash. So
I get it. Yeah.
if we're just being real, if we're being honest,
it's the physical return, right? That's what you see. What comes into your bank account. I know, this can sound materialistic, and look, if we were really to put it down to it, it's there, but it does offer you that energy. It offers you freedom. You see a return coming back for you being authentic, and then it gives you the opportunity to start supporting, like we have done through the causes that we've started to support. So I think the energy flow back there is important. I want to bring it back to, though, authenticity, which is one of these things that I think a lot of people have some drama with, and I think it comes from a deeper place, and that's something that we probably don't have time to go into on this podcast. But what I do know is that it released, for me at least, it did release a lot of energy, like a lot of energy that I probably was holding down or blocking within myself. And so it's something that's important, and this process that you took me through on LinkedIn, it seemed to release that. So I think that, have you seen that in most of the clients that you've worked with?
Pretty much I'd say 100% of clients. And funnily enough, the ones that struggle the most are the ones who come in with some history of doing content before. And they've come from a place where, it was this, I don't know, fake it till you make it, whatever you want to call it, where they weren't focusing on being authentic and real. And when we came along and said, you look like you're playing a role, just be yourself, and when they, I think you're right. I think it's almost something you can see. You see this like energy release where they go, okay, stuff it. I'm just going to do it, and they do it, and then they go, wow, this, I feel so much better about this. I resonate so much better doing it this way. I think some of the best video content, like I've seen you do, is like you and I on the beach, and unscripted, and we just, talked about stuff, and they were great videos. It's great content, and as you know, people engaged really well with those videos we did.
Yeah. And that also helps. That's kind of like opening the door to the sales process, and I love what you've written in your book around social serving versus social selling. It's around creating an opportunity rather than trying to sell something to somebody, and it's a completely different energy.
Well, it is. And, I'm going to use a term you've heard before, but, my belief is we're not here to change anyone's opinions on anything. Our job is just to find the people who already believe what we believe and resonate with what we do, see us as being someone of value in their networks. And those people that will just automatically come to you at the right time and want to work with you. So social serving is basically that premise, that if you show up regularly, if you're authentic, if you focus on just helping, being very helpful to people, they'll pay it back in doing business with you at the right time. The right time is always when they're ready. So that's the difference.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, you have been through a bit of a hero's journey. I'm giggling at the eye roll. And what I would love for you to share a little bit about how, bringing it back to personal energy, sharing a little bit about how you went from, working a big role in My Essence to merging over into running your own business, which you've done before in the past. And this was in an area that you haven't been in, although you were creating a specialist around it when you were at My Essence. So tell us a little bit how you managed yourself while you were doing the transition from working for someone else back into working for yourself.
Yeah, it was like you said, it's called the hero's journey, and it's you wake up one morning on top of the world, and you go to bed screaming like, "What the hell am I doing?" So and then rinse and repeat the next day for 6 months straight. So I think for me the advantage was that, as you said, I have done it before. I've had 4 other businesses prior to, working with My Essence. So I kind of knew what that startup journey was like. It wasn't like it wasn't my first rodeo, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had amazing people, in my team. So, I had great coach in David Dugan. I had Paul Dunn as a mentor from B1G1. Those guys opened a lot of doors for me. And I also had the advantage of still having that transition where I was spending some time at My Essence and some time doing my new role. So I still had income coming through to sustain that startup period. So, which is not to say it wasn't there weren't days when I was second guessing, what the heck am I doing? But I still do that today sometimes. But if I think that part of the hero's journey is a very valuable part that you never want to lose, because it just keeps you at the cutting edge of moving forward. And no business survives by doing the same thing forever. It's a constant, like you guys, what you're doing now to 6 months ago is massively different, and it'll be different again in 6-12 months time again. So so that's the value of the hero's journey, to keep you on track with that one.
Yeah, opening yourself up to innovation. Yeah, and I think so if you were to have a look at what would be one of the 1, 2 sort of 3 things that you have been doing for yourself that it's kept you focused on moving forward. So as an energized leader, and leading yourself, knowing that you're on this track, and you're certainly, I view you as somebody who doesn't give up. So what is it that has you keep focused on what you're doing, and where focus goes, energy flows. So what's your focus, and what keeps you going?
A few sort of daily rituals, morning rituals, those sort of things that are really helpful. Right now, because we're coming into winter, this lunatic I know said, get out every morning and get in a cold pool. And I was like, dude, seriously?
I'm sitting next to the lunatic.
You are, actually. But now I actually love it. It's like, I wouldn't say I can't wait to get up in the morning and get in the pool, but the difference it makes. So, I get up, I'll do a breathing session, can range anything from 7 minutes to 30 minutes, different stuff, a bit of stretching, whatever, get in the pool for 5 to 10 minutes, and then in a nice hot shower, and the difference to how my energy is to start the day is just amazing. So I pretty much do it almost every single day now. I travel a lot, so something I find that sort of sucks my energy a lot is just being in different time zones all the time. And I think I shared it with you, Shane, just not only a few weeks ago. I literally was in 4 different countries across 8 days.
Wow.
And I just did not recover. Like, when we got home, I just did not recover from that very quickly. It took me a long, normally a normal trip, and I do probably 6 international trips a year, plus double that around Australia. So literally at least 1 week of every month, I'm on a plane somewhere. And so managing that the toll that has on your body, and I do that through breathing, drinking plenty of water, trying to get as much sleep as possible. But I think the number one, the real one that makes a difference is getting out in that sunlight all the time, as much as possible. So when I get to wherever I'm going, whether that's in Dubai or London or wherever it is to get out onto the beach and get out in that sunlight as much as possible, and especially when I get home and do that. I find that really makes a huge difference to my state or level of energy.
That's brilliant. So by managing the founder's energy, do you feel like you are able to better manage your business and better sort of think laterally when you need to?
Uh, oh well, yes. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, if we've got good energy, if you know, we're feeling refreshed and energized, then our ability to do critical thinking, which is a, you know, a massive part of a successful business, is so much higher. And I think for me personally, and I imagine it's probably similar for everyone, the ability to do that critical thinking when your mind's a fog, or you're tired, or you're stressed, is just too hard. I can't do it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I
And
know.
that's sorry, Adam. That's a big. What I wanted to say there is it's huge, because it wasn't up until recently that I started to really learn that the thinking in your business is not only the hardest thing to do, but it's the thing that probably, if you're in business with other people or partners or whatever, and you're the person that does a lot of the critical thinking, it's not considered that you're doing much. You know, like, people don't consider that you're doing much when it's the probably the heaviest taxing thing on your energy, a drain on your energy, is that part. So, you know, um, I think that's just something to highlight to people, that if you are in your business and you don't give a lot of time to critical thinking, because someone might think, oh, what are you doing? You're just sitting around all day doing nothing. It's actually the hardest part of the business.
It is, and for me, it's even worse because I do my critical thinking at Burleigh Heads Beach. So, seriously, you're going to tell me that you count that as work? You know, so it's the most important part of my day. This is the stuff that makes a difference. So you know, so it doesn't have to just be, you know, sitting in your office or whatever. For me, I think that you know, getting out in the fresh air and the sun to do that critical thinking just you know, just takes it at a whole nother level. It's why I make the effort to do it that way.
That's brilliant. Now that brings up, because you've done a lot of work within like Roger Hamilton's crew and the wealth dynamics profile, and you even mention it in your influencer book. You talk about micro niching, but understanding more your own profile and understanding what type of influencer you are. And that's, I know you've got a program that you're just releasing now where people can take a test and see what type of influencer you are, so that way you can stay in line with what you said at the start about being congruent and creating consistency. Would you say that, I mean, I see this as a brilliant tool, because it's like people, you would think, and I'm asking you if this is what you see, do people attempt to be something that they're not because they don't understand, or they haven't gotten in touch with who they are or the direction they want to take?
I think that from my experience, the issue was mostly that people decided what type of influencer they were based on what they read in a book or from what they did at a course or whatever. And always, you know, books and courses are a perspective, you know, through the eye of the person who wrote it or created it. So, which is the same for me. So, you know, I could go out to people and say, hey, look, this is how I do it, and you know, and why I get great results and whatever. But it's not necessarily going to be congruent with what, you know, any individual might find as, you know, the test that you're talking about that we created is around sort of finding what, you know, what content the people, you know, some people love to do video, some people love live video, like you said. So, you know, there's a big difference between doing a live video and recorded video. Some people resonate more with written content, and the same with, you know, how we interact with our communities. You know, I'm actually quite an introvert. I'd rather rip my eye out with a blunt stick than go to a networking event. but you know, but give me an online community that I can interact with when it suits me and whatever, and I can give amazing value. Other people are real people, and they, you know, they love you know, networking events. They love, you know, getting out with people. but usually there's, for every yin there's a yang. So for the guys who do love that networking type stuff, they're always very weak in the opposite, which is getting their shit done. They spend all their time talking and no doing. And someone like me can easily go the other way, where we spend all our time doing and not engaging. So it's getting that flow and that balance right that's important, and that's what that test kind of helps people decide. I'm strength. I've got a strength here, and an equal and opposite thing that I've got to look out for over here.
Mm. Now, so that's brilliant, and being able to have a look at the best way to interact and the best way to be an influencer. Now, I want to ask a question, or have you share or elaborate a little bit more on this. Shane was talking about at the start about a little bit of a fear about building profile. We're talking about the imposter syndrome. So you work out your angle, what type of influencer you are. You start getting some engagement now. Now, here's something that I've even kind of come into contact with, and Shane has too, and you've even wrote about it in your book, so I would love for you to share about it, handling negative feedback. So, when you get that no, or when you send a message and people go, they might make a comment of, you'd think that, sending 6 messages and no reply means that I'm not interested, So it's like, how do you, because that can easily be an energy drain. I mean, to somebody who's not stepping out, that is stepping out for the first time, that would be a little bit of a knock off the high horse straight off the bat to some people. How do you manage that?
It's good. It's a good question, isn't it? I think people can handle like getting no engagement better than they can handle the negative. When somebody sort of bites back with something that's negative. But the reality is, in that negative feedback, is it generally falls into two distinct categories. There's the people that are negative because they see that by being negative it lifts them up, and there's people that actually just know what they're talking about and they call you out. So if it's the people who are just kind of trying to lift themselves up by having a negative opinion, I just go back to them and say, yeah, mate, go for it. I'm just going to have to agree to disagree with you and move on. I don't get bogged down in it. And there are times where someone's, might have an opinion that's opposite to us. And, like you guys would experience this to some degree on a regular basis, because not everyone believes what we believe in what you guys do and the superpower you have. And it can be very easy to get drained by that sort of comment, as opposed to just saying, well, look, they're just not my tribe, they're not my people, I don't need to worry about them, but I also don't need to spend any of my time trying to convince them. Just move them on and get on with it. And then, of course, I suppose there's also the trolls, but and they're just not worth even speaking about those people. You just delete them, block them, move on.
Yeah, I like what you said there, Adam, because it's important. I think if you really want to be influential, then it's important that you know how to separate those two people, because one is going to uplift you by challenging you and allowing you to articulate yourself in a clearer way and have a healthy interaction with someone if they literally got a question, or they are questioning you on your expertise, or they've got a difference of opinion, versus looking at the ones who are angry at themselves, so they're just going to be angry at you. It does. You just happen to be in the crosshairs at the time. It's got nothing to do with you. They just want to say something negative. And I think that if you are going to influence while you're on this planet, and you want to influence a lot of people, you need to learn that skill of being able to separate. Well, is this something that I can get into that's going to further my knowledge as well, or is this just some loop, like you said, some get bogged down in a loop of going back and forward, arguing with someone over something that's just not relevant? Yeah, it's not relevant.
Well, one of the things that Shane would say to me, like if I wanted to come back and reply back to somebody, Shane goes, if you have to create a validation or a comeback or explanation, explaining yourself, then it kind of puts more fuel on the fire.
Yeah, so, it's adversarial.
Yeah, so I like what you said about just kind of like letting things go and moving on, and just focusing on who you want to work with and who your tribe is.
Yeah, and the more, what I will say is, the more active you are in social media, the more you will get exposed to that negativity. So it is a muscle you've got to work, and the quicker you can kind of get comfortable with it, so to speak. My litmus test on it is, if somebody kind of says something that, and this is not just in social media, I actually had this happen with something my dad said to me the other day, and my natural reaction was aggressive, go back, like justify, give a point of, what I really thought about that. And so what I always do is I actually just sleep on it and go, okay, let's see if I still feel that way tomorrow. And 9 times out of 10, I go, just whatever. So I think that if I could give some, sort of experience on that, is don't react in the moment. Let it, just give it some time. Let yourself cool down, and just see if you still feel like that in an hour or 2 hours or overnight. I find if I leave something overnight, 9 times out of 10, I just don't even care the next day. So.
Yeah. Rearranging the importance of the things that we're focusing on. Brilliant. So now moving forward, so you're working on some pretty brilliant things around influencers and supporting influencers. If people want to learn more from you or want to engage more from you on how to organize, you have some, and just in working with you personally as well, some brilliant ways around being able to come up with content and content scheduling. And you've taught me so much about marketing, scheduling, and these sorts of things. So how do people, if they have, I would say, if their number one goal is to raise their online presence and become an influencer in their particular niche, how would they contact you? And what's kind of like, how do you know when, or what's the best way that somebody can prepare themselves to work with you?
Look, I think the best way, jump on our website, or adamhoulahan.com. That's my personal website. And we've got lots of this. Look, I think the best start is just immerse a bit in the free content that we have. So we have a short course you can do that helps you fix up your profile online. We have a free community that is very active. Lots of people in there that jump in, and it's actually great because it's not just me answering the questions. There's all these people with great experiences that, if you have a question around influence or LinkedIn or whatever, you'll get multiple perspectives from people. And that way you just get comfortable with, what we do and how we do it. And then if you want to go further than that, then, we can book a time to have a chat and take it from there. Or, read something like Influencer. It's it's a easy read. Like you said, it's written in layman terms. And I don't think I've had a negative review on it yet, so waiting for my first one. It's going to come, but
well, it has been out for like nearly 6 months, and you hit number 1 on Amazon straight up. So I think you're doing well.
What before we wrap this up, Adam, what gets you out of bed in the morning? Like, why do you do what it is that you do?
Yeah, it's a good question, and look, for me, it's like, as much as I say I'm an introvert, and I actually am, but what I love doing is just connecting and going over strategy with people on this stuff. So I get the privilege of speaking at a lot of events around the world and interacting and engaging with people on Zoom and things like that. So that's always the highlight of my day is getting to dive into that stuff with people. But also I think there's got to be that work life balance. So take lots of holidays and things with the family, and get away to lovely beach locations and whatever. So, but of course it takes a good business to be able to do that on multiple levels. A team that can take care of stuff while you're away, and enough income to fund it. So what lights me up is spending time with awesome entrepreneurs around the world, and the trade-off of that is, of course, we have a fantastic business that it's an honor to be the founder and chief bottle washer at the same time.
And I just want to qualify something, because I know, Adam, you and I are very similar in our I'm also very introverted, but what I want to qualify on this is that introverted doesn't necessarily mean that you don't like being around people. What it means to me is that you go inside yourself deep to think, which may give people on the outside view that you don't want to be disturbed or you're not a people person. So I just want to qualify that for all the other people that are out there that are of the same ilk as us, and then on the other side of it, again, those people that are extroverted doesn't always mean that you have to be around people. It just means that you light up and do your best work when you're probably in a bigger group of people. So I wanted to put that out there, because it really, in doing the work with you and doing the work on our influence, that became very apparent to me. That it's not that, because I'm the same as you. I love talking to people. I love being on calls. You presented in front of big crowds, so have we. So I wanted to make that clear, that it's not that you don't want to be around people if you're introverted.
No, that's very true. But there's also another overarching thing that I know you have the same trait as me. I've witnessed it. We don't suffer fools either. One of the highlights of my day was having a stand-up lunch with you in a crowd of people, and when this person came up and started having a chat with you, that I'm laughing on the inside because I knew you weren't, and then I walked away and left you with them. It was still cracks me up every time I think about it.
Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed that. I came over and yes, I said to you that thanks for leaving me.
Well, I think it's a useful tool as well. I mean, I know, and coming from the opposite spectrum, because I'm very extrovert, but I have a tendency to be introverted when I need to. And it's like I'm watching how you guys work, and I actually learn my own boundaries by watching how you guys work, and the Don't Suffer Fools, and even in the people that we've interviewed so far in the Energized Leader series here. I know that there's a lot. The one thing that seems pretty consistent is that cut the fat. So look at where you can cut the fat without cutting the muscle, and still being able to direct your energy in a way that's yours. So that's what I love about how you've got the influencer test, because you can go, okay, so whether you're introvert and extrovert, it doesn't matter. You can still be loud and proud on social media, and do it in such a way that's congruent with you and how you really feel. And you can be, therefore, consistent in your messaging.
Yep.
So, yeah, look, I totally agree, because it does, whatever side of the spectrum you're on, I think that knowing how to be influential and what that means doesn't mean that you have to cut something out. There's just a certain style or a certain way that you can present yourself that works, that does get your message out to a wider audience, other than just the people that you would normally want to target or not want to target,
Well, yeah, and I think one of the best, like you guys speak at a lot of events as well, and I think the best compliment that people can give you after speaking at an event is not so much when they see you on stage, but when, obviously lots of people want to come up and have a chat to you afterwards and whatever. And when they say, wow, you just seem like a normal person. It's like when that's the reaction I like to get the most. There's you just seem real and normal. And I think when we get to that point where we're comfortable on stage, but we're also sharing a message in that authentic way, it comes across as just that this is just you. It's real, and that's what really attracts that tribe of like-minded people to you.
And that's what I love about what you do and I would say of all the people that, and I haven't met every single one, but of the people that I know that specialize in LinkedIn or specialize in online social media stuff, you above all the other ones that I've met have that focus on heart and giving back and purpose and meaning and authenticity, which I believe is strongly missing going forward into a high-tech world, high fast-paced world. That human connection is something that's missing, and you bring that back into the play and make it. And for me, that's like leverage that has you stick out above any other influencers, being yourself and connected to your own purpose and messaging.
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you. But that's, again, that comes down to my definition of social serving as opposed to social selling, and where that a lot of influencers lose that authenticity is because their focus is on selling more so than serving. And I just believe it comes back to you tenfold if you're consistent and stay true to yourself in that, like you said, heart-centered and congruency.
Yeah, and it feeds your energy too, because you get to be yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I highly recommend that people take you up on your advice on trolling the free stuff that you've got. I know I've gone through your free stuff, and there is some absolute gold, especially around redoing the summary and your LinkedIn profile. Even just a couple of those steps will have you leaps and bounds above all the noise in LinkedIn.
But not only your free stuff, Adam. We're also clients of yours. And I am super skeptical. I like to pull the threads on a lot of things, as you know, and it's been a pleasure to work with you because there's never been a time where we haven't felt like we couldn't just tell you exactly what was happening, what we needed, how we wanted to shape things. You've always been available to give us advice, the right type of advice or sound advice at the right time that we needed it also. So we really appreciate it. And, everyone that's listening out there, if you have got a business and you've got a belly button and you breathe, you need to also start considering, where you're influencing and where you have, everybody that I come across, I always say to them, go and see Adam, because you need to get your LinkedIn stuff up, to get your authority up and to get your influence up, because it'll take a lot of weight off your shoulders. And we're all about, where can you unlock energy? Where can you unlock it? And I was just saying to Adam before this call that, it's not always about the energy to run a kilometer, or the energy to do more push-ups or to go to the gym. What we're talking about is mental and personality type energy, where, if you're not getting out there and understanding who you are, you're going to be stifled, and that takes a lot of it. It robs you of a lot of energy.
Yeah, 100% it does. And I think it gets back to that question you asked, like, why do you get up every morning? And if you're not getting up 9 out of 10 days and doing what it is you love and what lights you up, then it is just an absolute energy suck. It just destroys you.
Yes, I think we've all been there.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, Adam, for taking the time to come on and share your experience. And I highly recommend that people have a look at your.
We'll include all the links.
Yeah.
We'll include all the links.
We'll put it all in the show notes, and it really is follow the bouncing ball. One foot in front of the other, and before you know it, you're an influencer. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today, and and we love working with you. So we'll be doing this again, I'm sure.
Right back at you. Loved it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.